This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show network, with your hosts, Jake Berryfield and Mike Regalado, and occasionally some friends, talking all things UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello, welcome to What's Bruin. I am your host, Jake Berryfield. I'm joined by my good buddy, Mike Regalado from Bruin Report Online.
Mike Regalado.
Good day, everyone. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing all right, Mike. It's good to see you again. Mike did a nice little show without me last week. Came up clutch, talking some baseball, softball, and then some basketball stuff. Thanks for that, Mike. That was a good job.
Yeah, it was a big shout out to the Godfather who said you guys should talk about softball and baseball. And when I got that text, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess we should. The season's about to end, right? No, the postseason is already started. So I'm like, oh, we should cover this. And I was loosely covering it throughout the season. But obviously over the last 2 months, it's been all March Madness and then spring football in the month of April. And then off-season stuff, recruiting, transfer portal stuff. That has been busy and that has slowed down. So I was like, you know what? We need to give them their props. So yeah, I researched the hell out of what the hell they were doing the last 3 months. And Jake, they're pretty good.
They are.
Both teams.
Both teams are in a nice position right now. UCLA softball is about to go to the World Series, and the UCLA baseball is hosting a regional and is a top 15 seed. So that's good. And we'll hopefully look for some excitement there. And we'll talk about that in a minute. It's the What's Bruin Show on the What's Bruin Show Network. Thank you for your support. You can email the show at whatsbruinshow@gmail.com. Subscribe on Patreon or on Substack. You can look at the link down below in your show notes. You can also search us up on YouTube, and the show is on there. Just search for What's Bruin, and you can call the hotline, 805-399-4WBS.
Suck it, Raina Troy.
Suck it, Raina Troy. And, that's all happening. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the softball, the baseball, and then I think we're going to talk about just like kind of how all the teams in the UCLA, all the UCLA teams did in their first year in the Big Ten, because we're pretty much at that point now, the end of the year, so we can kind of really look at it. I guess note whether we think they're, for some of you might have your own opinion about how UCLA football or UCLA basketball did on their Big Ten journey, but this is where they're at now, and so we'll go through and see kind of how they did. So I guess with that being said, I guess let's get right to talking UCLA softball, which they had a really exciting journey to get into, get from the regional to the super regional or whatever, to getting to the college World Series of softball. Mike, you recapped what they did in their own when they hosted and they beat up on Santa Barbara and the other teams are in that regional last week, and then that sent them out to Columbia, South Carolina to take on the Gamecocks
in the super regionals. Yes,
in the super regional, and they had a 3-game series, and it was best out of 3, and they went 3 games.
And I was nervous at the start of it,
and it was quite a 3 games, especially that first one.
Wow, yeah.
I mean that second one rather. The first one sucked.
Yeah.
They go out there and they get kind of shellacked by South Carolina 9-2, and game 2 kind of continued in that fashion right up until the freaking 7th inning, and then just a massive comeback. And if you didn't see the 7th inning of the second game of the series versus the Gamecocks, watch it. Even if you just watch the 7th inning, because it was awesome. And we'll go through what happens. So the Bruins are down 1-4 in the 7th inning, and the first batter up there walks Taylor Stevens, and then we have Sophia Mujica comes out and she strikes out swinging. So now there's 1 out, 1 on, and then Caitlin Terry comes up to the plate. She is 0 for 2 at that point in the game, and she triples to right center, and it was a nice. I call these Molly specials. My daughter Molly specialized. She hit over 500 in her softball career, as short as it was, and she would always hit liners up the middle. And so the Bruins basically had 2 back-to-back liners up the middle. Caitlin Terry's triple goes all the way to the wall, and that's an RBI that's RBI scores Stevens. So now all of a sudden it's 4-2, right?
A little bit of life.
Bruins in business. They still got 1 out, but a little bit of life, right? The Gamecocks don't make any substitutions or anything. Jessica Clements comes up, and then the South Carolina kind of rights the ship a little bit. They strike her out looking. And now it's down to Savannah Pola is up with 2 outs in the 7th, down 2-4. And what's she going to do? Well, she's 0 for 3 at that point in the game. And she, like I said earlier, singles to center field right up the middle. It was kind of like a looping hit, but right up the middle of the field. And that scores Terry. So now all of a sudden, it's 3-4. There's 2 outs, yeah.
Okay, now.
But who's coming up to the plate? Oh, it's one of the big bombers. Yeah, Woolery comes up.
Terminator, man.
She's 0 for the weekend, by the way, at this point.
Yeah.
In 2 games, she did not have a hit.
Mm-hmm.
And she walks up there, and that's when they do a pitching substitution. Gress comes in for Hurd, who had pitched the game. And it was just, it's really it was an awesome UCLA softball moment because
and as Jake
they do
said,
the pitching change. Oh, go ahead.
2 outs. They're 1 out away from an elimination.
Oh, yeah.
UCLA should not be where they're at right now, but...
Well, I mean, they used all their outs. And, So, Woolery comes up to the plate, and there's a pitching substitution, so there's a little bit of a delay. But then, sorry if there's some noise here. We're in the laundry room, and the laundry's going off. But she steps up, and first pitch, boom, no doubt, freaking thing over the left field wall, and just curtains for the Gamecocks. Bruins win on a walk-off first pitch bomb, and it was very, very cool. Very, very cool. And that it was so shocking to the announcer that she called the Bruins into the World Series, and then she's like, "Oh wait, no, they just tied it, so they got to win again the game.
Yeah,
they have the chance to move on." Because you go into the 7th down 1-4, and you're like, "Okay, I guess the Gamecocks are going to advance." Not so fast.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, if you're going to watch any softball from this season, watch that 7th inning, the bottom of the 7th inning. It was freaking awesome. Then they still have to win another game, though.
Yeah.
Mike.
But there's a little bit of life. They clearly did not. I think it was Kelly Inoue Perez. I think she was the one that said they just did not play. That was uncharacteristic of them to lose 9-2, just to be able to have like no defense and have South Carolina basically do whatever they want and start off hot the way that they did, and they just could not catch up.
Well, and they destroyed the competition in that, like I said, in their regional. They 9-1.
Yeah, all those games were
and 12-1.
All of those games were run ruled.
Yeah.
They didn't even go 7 innings.
So it's like that might have been they get a little cocky for the Gamecocks. But they certainly did make it up in that game too. So the game 3 happens, and the Bruins once again have some late fireworks. But this game they never trailed. They're up 1-0 after 1.
Yeah,
they're up 2-0 after 5. And then the 7th, they drop 3 more runs to seal it. UCLA advances to the College World Series with a what was the final score, 5-0 win over.
Yeah,
South
they
Carolina.
blanked them.
They really stole their chain on that.
Yeah, and they were separated by 1 seed. South Carolina was the 8th seed, and UCLA is the 9th seed. So obviously UCLA had to travel to South Carolina for that super regional game. Luckily, because of super regional games, the home team has home batting advantage in game 1 and game 3. So the fact that UCLA was the quote unquote home team for game 2, that really helped them out get that win. Because who knows what would have happened if South Carolina still had one more at bat? I don't think that they would have let 2-run homer, four runs in the same inning. I don't think that would have sat well with them. So that's kind of good luck for UCLA. Certainly. In terms of how the tournament is scheduled. So, but yeah, so now they go into Sunday at what was it? 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock for us? No, it was at noon for us. And yeah, start off with a 1-run defensive game all the way into the 5th, and then who was that? Was that Woolery, who again. That was her second hit in the game, and it was an RBI to bring in Clements, 2-0. And then, it's getting crunch time. 2-0. That's not a lot, obviously, as we saw with the Saturday game. So we get to the top of the 7th, and UCLA just needs to kind of extend their lead, push that out there, and then play some defense, which they've been playing some really good freaking defense all game long. And it was way more than any Bruin fan, I believe, suspected. South Carolina just could not get the Bruins out The Bruins had 9 batters in this game. That's plenty of chance for them to make something happen. And they did. And there were like a few errors. And the Bruins hit there was one pop fly. I think it was Slimp who had, I don't remember if it was her that hit the pop fly into shallow.
Yeah.
But then there was another one where South Carolina brought their infielders in, and the batter was that? I think that might have been Pola. I got to go back and check these notes, but hits it right, just mollies it right into the outfield, like right in between the defenders. Another Bruin gets on base, and it's just like, wow, everything is going right for UCLA at this point.
No, it's great. And, so like I said, I think they kind of stole the Gamecocks' heart in that Game 2 win. And now they're advancing to the World Series, and they're going to be playing a familiar opponent. Quack, quack. Those wimpy Ducks.
Oregon.
The Ducks are so wimpy, I hope. So, Mikey, that's going to start on...
That I believe is Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. And it's going to be at... I don't know if these times are... Do you know if the...
They're probably Eastern. Are you looking at ESPN?
So it's 9:30 p.m. It shows on the NCAA website.
It's probably Eastern, yeah.
You can get home and watch on ESPN2 at 6:30, it looks like. So that's Game 4 of the World Series. It's one of the later ones. There's only 6 in the first round of it. So it'll be one of the later games. And the winner of that will go on to face the winner of that is... it's a double elimination. So
yeah, this is similar to what happened in the regionals where...
Yeah, so they'll go on to play the winner of Texas Tech Ole Miss, or they'll go into the losers bracket and face the loser of...
Texas Tech Ole Miss.
Oh, Texas Tech Ole Miss. Very good, Mike. Thank you. So there you go.
Oh.
So Oregon's path actually, it's kind of like UCLA in their regional where they just womped up on the opponent. Probably were playing opponents that were not quite up to snuff, up to their caliber. You're talking about the Gauchos. By the way, I was teasing Molly that the Bruins beat their ass, but go Gauchos and all that stuff. But Oregon ends up in a kind of a battle with Stanford. Stanford destroys them in their regional, and then Oregon comes back to beat Stanford to advance, and then they advance into their super regional matchup. Is it a super regional? Whatever it is. This last round.
This last weekend was super, yeah.
Yeah, super regional against Liberty, right? And so Liberty was coming off a high because they eliminated Texas A&M, who was like the top seed.
Number one,
it's like the only time that the top seed hasn't advanced to the super regional. So I mean,
they got Virginia.
Liberty's coming in on a high. Yeah, exactly. Coming in on a high, but also that's a big break for Oregon to be able to play them. So I'm hoping, Oregon was lower seed, obviously. They were supposed to play the number 1 seed Texas A&M if everything went to chalk.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll be a nice matchup for the Bruins where they can advance to the second game.
Yeah.
As they should.
Yeah.
Like they should advance to the second game based on chalk. It would be an upset if they lost in this particular game.
Yeah.
But obviously it's a big World Series.
And it's interesting because Oregon won the regular season Big Ten championship.
Right.
UCLA came in second place. And during the season, UCLA lost 2 out of the 3 games that they played in conference play.
But we don't want that to happen no more.
No, not at all. But yeah, it's interesting how Oregon got the overall 16 seed and UCLA the 9 seed. But yeah, I mean, when you go 54-11, that's pretty freaking impressive. And yeah, so UCLA only played, 22 conference games. Do you know how many non-conference games they played this year, Jake?
No.
42.
Jeesh.
That's a lot. I was going through their schedule. I was like, where are all the Big Ten teams? Oh, wow. They are really at the end of this the season, but
that's why.
But for the Bruins to be able to go 54-11, that's insane. And this is their 33rd appearance in the Women's College World Series. I think Coach Inoue Perez, this is her 11th. I should have the notes right here. The notes are here somewhere. My fault is I forgot my glasses. Still.
Oh, no.
This is also the 4th time UCLA advances to the Women's College World Series when losing Game 1. So that's a pretty, impressive feat right there. So
that is fun.
So yeah, everything seems to be rolling with softball right now, and hopefully they can continue this good stretch as they take on some really freaking good teams. I mean, Oklahoma's always good, and they have an advantage with this being played in Oklahoma. They got to move it out somewhere. There seriously has to be another softball compound or something where they can play, and it's not in Oklahoma every year, because I think Oklahoma's won the last 3.
I'm getting sick
3
of
out of 5, something like that. Anyway,
I'm sick of those Oklahomans. Period.
Yeah, but Texas is good. Tennessee is good. Like all these teams are really freaking good. And
they certainly could get eliminated. That's why I was saying, like, it's kind of nice. It seems like, even though they lost, they were 1-2 to Oregon in the season, the Bruins are kind of riding high right now, and they certainly could have been given a less a harder matchup.
Yeah,
in that first game, because you never know. I mean, it's like these games, all these teams are good. So, like you said, Mike, all these games are going to be battles. So it is good that that they're down on this side of the bracket, and that Oklahoma is way up there on the other side of the bracket. I'd like to not see Oklahoma for a while, so that's good, right? I mean, they got that going for them.
That'll help, yeah.
So hey, there we got that going for us. So yeah, let Florida and Texas and Tennessee and Oklahoma all battle out, and hopefully the Bruins can survive this and get past the Texas and Ole Miss, Texas Tech and Ole Miss, and we'll see where they go. So, Mike, with that being said, baseball is also playing. What do you got for me on baseball?
Well, the Bruins on the baseball side of the field have been kicking some butt as well, considering that the fact that UCLA had 2 losing seasons prior to this season, and have now propelled themselves into the co-regular season championship spot with Oregon, shows a lot about what John Savage has done with his team, and how there was kind of word like the last few years that they have a young team with a lot of talent, but it was going to take a little while. Well,
right,
here we go. You have a team that wins a share of the Big Ten regular season tournament. Regular season championship. Then they go into the Big Ten tournament, and they win their first game. Which I love college football and their weird pools and brackets and all that, because there were 4 pools of 3 teams, and if there's a tiebreaker amongst 2 teams, the higher seeded team gets it. So that is why UCLA in their first game against Illinois automatically advanced to the bracket round.
Oh wow!
Which also made their game against Michigan irrelevant, and yet they still played it. Very bizarre. But the Bruins beat Illinois and then beat Michigan, so they rightfully go into the knockout round, where they face Iowa. And I don't know, like I said, it took me a while just to catch up to UCLA baseball. I have no idea what the hell Iowa was all about, but they were the number 3 seed. Apparently pretty good, but they were not good enough in the semifinals on Saturday, in which the Bruins just routed them 9-3. That pushed them into the championship game on Sunday, where they were to take on number 8 Nebraska. So the 8th seeded team against the number 3 seeded team. Think that would be all right? No.
Maybe. No,
he got shut down 5-0.
Bummer.
It was like, okay, but luckily, their resume speaks for itself. And that night, they didn't announce the entire field, but they did announce the 16 teams that were going to be hosting the regionals, which are starting this weekend. And the Bruins were one of them. And as it turned out, as we found out on Monday, UCLA was the 15th seeded team. So they were just in there as a seeded team, as a regional host. And which
is awesome.
Yeah, and they will be in a pool with...
Actually, I have that right here, Mike. They're going to be in a pool with Fresno State, UC Irvine, go Anteaters, and I hope they beat those dogs. And then ASU, go Sparky.
Yeah, and it's a same format, I believe, with softball, the double elimination. So if you lose one game, you're not out, but you go into the losers bracket and have to play yourself back into take on a team who's probably won 2 already and is going to beat you. So
yeah, it's a double elimination, and then when they go to the 2-team super regional, that's a best of 3, and then those 8 winners will go to the Omaha College World Series. And yeah, UCLA. So right now we're talking about like what chalk was for the Bruins and how the women, the softball had a seemingly a better matchup against Oregon than they might have drawn otherwise. UCLA being the 15 as the host, that means they're going to be stacked up against the number 2 team in the field. That's the Longhorns.
That's
right?
Texas, yeah, the Super
Longhorns.
Regionals, and then that's going to be in Austin. So,
so I mean, look, we're just happy to have a UCLA baseball team that's doing good.
Yeah, especially
It's
with
been a while.
Especially with the Big Ten Player of the Year, Cholo Rock.
Let's go.
Rock Chalowski. Someone, and yes, they were.
You could have told me I didn't.
They were of the Latino persuasion. They were like, dude, we love Cholo Rock. I'm like, oh my God, I'm using that. But no, Rock Chalowski. In
That's
what
pretty
game
rad.
was it? I think it was in Iowa or Michigan, where just when he needed it, he just crushed his homer. And oh yeah, we all even on Sports Center. This is how big the College World Series is that it finally makes it to Sports Center. But yeah, his highlight last weekend, he had a bunt double. So he bunted, it got right past him, right past I think the first baseman, and he ran to first and saw that nobody was near it. Kept on running. I think it was an RBI on that play.
That's pretty hardcore.
He got a double off a freaking bunt. That is awesome.
I love that.
So yeah, if anything doesn't happen this year, UCLA has a lot of talent to make a even bigger run next year. But again, considering the fact that they were not great the last 2 seasons, and to jump into a 40 win season, a World Series ranking, that's pretty freaking impressive for this baseball team. And cheers to John Savage and down with all the John Savage haters who are like, oh, you can't manage anymore, blah blah blah. There were a few, not as much as people complaining about like Corey Close or anything, but yeah, there were some out there. But yeah, no. So this should be a pretty exciting weekend. This should be an easy weekend for UCLA. And just like in softball, when we get to the Super Regionals and then get to Omaha, that's when it's going to get really freaking tense. So let's hope that the Bruins can continue their success this season, because they're just kicking some butt right now.
I dig it. I absolutely dig that. Okay, Mikey. So we were kind of eyeballing like these different teams that are in the Big Ten, and of course, some of the teams are not in Big Ten play, like the water polo, MPSF or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're not going to talk about those right now, but we're just going to go through the ones that we can show that we're in the Big Ten and talk about how they did. And if I can't figure out how they did, Mikey, maybe you can. Let's start with some of the ones that I actually did find stuff on. Let's go
football.
Well, yeah. Well, actually,
wah, wah.
Overachieve, underachieve in the Big Ten, Mikey. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say they underachieved because they weren't a great team. So I think they did what
they underachieved
expected.
what they should have done, in my opinion, because they should have been better on offense. They shouldn't have hired, the terrible coordinator, and they had a chance to be much better.
You're still on that?
They were kind of They were kind of chalky for what everybody was expecting them to do in the Big Ten, right? They kind of were like, this is what it was, right? Men's basketball.
I think they underachieved because with the talent that they had, having to have that late push just to get into the 4th spot, that first and second round bye, that should have been locked up. But hey, they got in there.
Everything broke right for them.
Yeah.
And then they ended up faltering at the end.
Yeah.
I think that's true. Women's basketball.
Overachieved.
Not overachieved. I think they just achieved. We thought they were supposed to win the Big Ten title, and then they end up not winning it, and then they win the Big Ten tournament. We're happy about that. They did what they were supposed to.
All right.
And they got the Final Four. We'll say, it's good. But like in the Big Ten itself,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't overachieve. They should have won the goddamn conference.
Yeah. No, I got
right?
that. Yeah, I mean, they were picked second, and they came in second, so I guess that's all right.
Oh, and I don't want to crap on them. Oh, so they were picked second?
Yeah, USC, then
you didn't pick
UCLA.
them second.
No.
You picked them number 1.
I did.
So they underachieved what you picked.
Yes, they did.
Sorry, Mike. I don't bring up why bring up bullshit. Okay, so then we talked about softball. We talked about baseball. Then we go to men's soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how'd they do in men's soccer, Mikey?
Didn't they win their conference championship?
They won the conference. Well, they had a game where they won 6-0, and then they tied 1-1 against Michigan, and then they ended up going to the NCAA tournament and losing to the Gauchos. 1-0.
They lost in the first game, didn't they?
Yeah, the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But where did they finish in the conference with the Big Ten?
Let me see. Hang on a second. They finished 6th.
Okay. And they made it to the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, not bad for sure. All right, next one. Let's just kind of blow through these, I guess. This is going to be women's soccer. They actually did pretty darn well, right? They won the Big Ten tournament, beating Penn State, Washington, Rutgers. They go to the NCAA tournament. They beat Cal Baptist, Georgetown in overtime, and then they end up losing to Virginia Tech.
Yeah. Goddamn Hokies.
Yeah, darn Hokies. So they didn't win in the NCAAs, but they kicked butt in the Big Ten tournament. So it's a probably successful season for them right there. We talked about softball. What about swimming and diving, Mike? Do you have anything on that?
No.
They finished 7th in the conference at the Big Ten Championship.
There we go. Yeah, that's what it was.
That's really all I know.
I thought I had it here, but
so just for your edification. How about men's tennis, Mikey?
They were tournament champions there, weren't they?
Yeah, they beat Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State, and then they are in the NCAAs and they beat Santa Barbara and Cal. Geez, men's tennis beat both my kids' schools. That's nice. That's fun. I like that. And then they beat SC. Oh, that's quite a run for them. And then they lose to the Longhorns in the championship.
Damn it!
So that's pretty fun though. I wish I would have been following men's tennis. I could have talked some shit there. That's a shame. Women's
hey girls,
tennis,
get in here. We'll talk some shit.
Exactly. Women's tennis. I'm not sure. Do you have anything on women's tennis in there, Mikey?
No.
Looking right now. They, well, they did play Big Ten. Okay, so in the Big Ten tournament, they beat Wisconsin but lost to Michigan. And then the NCAA first and second rounds, they beat Harvard and Vandy, and then they lose in the Super Regional to Texas A&M. So that's still, I think that's a pretty good season for women's tennis. I don't know what they're expected to do. Golf,
they finished 5th in the conference.
Okay, well, fair enough. And then, what do you think about the women's golf, Mike?
From what I recall,
they finished 7th in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, they had a mediocre season.
And then they
subpar.
Were 5th in the NCAA regionals and 12th in the NCAA championships. So, I mean, could have been worse.
They've been better.
I don't know how that works, but there we go. We're really good on this one. And then men's golf. First Big Ten championship.
Tournament championship, baby.
There you go. So that's good. And then 3rd in the NCAA regionals and then tied for 20th in the NCAA championship. So kind of folded there at the end. That's your men's golf update. And women's volleyball, Mikey. Any idea how they finished? Because I'm looking at this and I just see
badly.
Oh yeah,
14 and 15.
14 and 15. Okay, so
badly.
Women's volleyball needs a little bit of work.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then I have no idea how to read standings or achievement in track and field, gymnastics, or cross country. Gymnastics, didn't they have a?
They did win the regular season conference championship.
Go.
Yeah.
So let's do
So along with UCLA baseball winning the a share of the regular season championship, that is 6 teams, 6 UCLA sports teams that have won either a regular season championship or a tournament championship in their first year in the Big Ten. And just by glancing at this to see what other team really stands out amongst being successful, Ohio State has a few, but Oregon is just popping up all over this place. They have 7, one more championship, again, both the regular season and tournament combined, than UCLA. That's pretty impressive for 2 teams that were not in the league last year. I mean, if anything, this whole thing about, USC broke up the Pac-12 and they only brought UCLA along and then they only brought Oregon and Washington along. Well, UCLA and Oregon are kind of proving that they belong in the Big Ten conference because
at least overall in sports.
Yeah, overall in sports. We're not going to get
a little better in the football.
Football would
a little better.
That would help out
a little better.
But second half of the standings.
With that being said, with that being said, Bruin Report Online. had a couple of nice podcasts themselves in the last week or so. They had Brandon Huffman on there, talked about UCLA recruiting, and then they talked to what's our
Ken Grauer,
yeah, but what's the organization called?
Men of Westwood.
Men of Westwood. It changed, right? But listening to those two conversations makes me feel a lot better about where football stands.
Recruiting is picked up. NIL is getting better.
It's
Holy
good,
crap.
yeah. So it's like, Mike, you posed a question last week, should this be called like a year zero for Deshaun Foster or whatever? And it's like, I don't really like, to me, that question doesn't even need to be asked, because it's like, you don't ask if Deshaun Foster gets a year zero when he comes into the circumstances he's coming into, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like it was posed in your question.
Yeah.
He gets hired late. He's like, never has any, he doesn't have any coaching experience whatsoever.
Late to hiring coaches.
Oh, the whole 9 yards. Everything
recruiting.
So it's like, yeah, duh. That now, with that being said, he underachieved what we thought he could do because of, like I said, the fatal flaw in last year's team, which was the offense. But then I was worried that they were going to waste all the momentum that they had with the returning players they had, the ability to be under the radar and to win. I thought that might be squandered this year because they lost a lot of talent from this year.
Yeah,
and as we talked
especially
about,
on defense. Woof.
And you have no idea who a lot of these guys are because the roster turnover so much. But I don't think that unless there's some sort of major catastrophe with the program this year, I don't think there's any way that Sean Foster's under any severe pressure unless like the bottom falls out.
Yeah.
And looking at how things are trending right now, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.
No.
The things you want to point to in his favor are that's a team that even though they tied their hands behind their back to play offense last year, they played hard through that whole darn season.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that speaks to Deshaun Foster's ability to motivate those players. And then all the stuff that people complain about as far as like what Chip Kelly wasn't doing as far as like on the recruiting trail and that stuff, it seems like he's getting that spun around. And, I don't know what you think about this, Mike, but I would not be disappointed if UCLA never goes after another like high school 5-star type again. Now, I know they just brought in a quarterback that was a bounce back, Tennessee. That's a particular situation.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, distressed asset. Let's go get him for less than market value.
This guy fell in your lap.
Fell in your lap. Absolutely. You take that guy 100 times out of 100, 1,000 times out of 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
But the going after the Mikes and the Jalen Phillips and those things like that, it's like, I could do without it. I really could.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like Dante Moore, go Bruins. Where's Dante? Is his son?
Go Bruins.
Yeah. Thank you. If I never see another prospect like that, I won't be unhappy. Not to say that they won't ever do it. When they actually do it, then I'll be like, okay, fine. I'll talk myself into it. But I'm hoping that UCLA can build a successful football program by using the assets it does has, which isn't nothing. They do have, a war chest there that's been developed the last couple of years, and they just need to spend it wisely. And if you listen to those two conversations that were on, hi, bro, it kind of illustrated a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
You have any other thoughts on that, Mike?
No, but it's slow going, but it seems the momentum is going in a different direction than what Chip Kelly had it, and it just seems early on that the pace is a little bit more than what Chip Kelly did, heading from quote unquote year 0 to year 1. And
we also had faith in Chip at that point, right?
Yeah, totally blind faith.
And then it started over again.
But I think Deshaun Foster, especially learning from Chip Kelly and seeing what he had in his first year, immediately made changes. Like, when did they make that hire? December, right? It was like right before Christmas.
I believe so.
Was it? I think so. Yeah, they part ways. They part ways with Bieniemy, and all of a sudden, Cincinnati's in the conversation 2 hours after that Bieniemy story drops. So, yeah, I absolutely think.
And once again, that's all still nothing's proven with that.
No, not yet.
It looks like it'll be better.
Yeah, and at least instead of you're promoted to a position, and one of the reasons they promote you is because they need someone, so you kind of scramble, and after a year, you know exactly what your company, your program, your team, whatever it is, needs, and you address those situations immediately. Basically, didn't seem like Chip Kelly did that. It seemed like Chip Kelly just thought that he was going to be Chip Kelly and everything would be fine and fall into place.
Well, and he did build a respectable program up to a point, but then he never delivered on what the overall expectation for his program was.
No.
And then it always seemed like he would just lose the most dumb, unlosable games.
Yeah.
And, he wins one or two more games and it like completely changes the trajectory of what his tenure at UCLA is. But that's all done. What we're concerned about now is Sean Foster. And it does, if you just look at coming off of that first season where they started horribly, picked it up, and then ended not great. And pretty much the only thing you can point to as a absolute major complaint was that offense. Mm-hmm. And he immediately switches it, like you said, Mike. And if you look at what they've added since they got rid of Bieniemy, Fredo, and got Sinceri, and added a quarterback, and added kind of just a lot of talent to the program, and the recruiting, and what the recruiting looks like it's doing, like it's they're all positive signs. Nothing's proven yet, but they're all positive signs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. And, so I'm okay with that. All right, Mike. Well, I guess there's only one thing left.
Let's do it.
What's brewing with you?
You ask me.
What's brewing with me?
Yeah.
What's brewing with you? What's brewing with me? What's brewing with you?
We ain't making an hour this one, Mikey. That's okay.
Damn it!
It's okay.
I can stretch it. No,
You
I
don't
don't want
need
to. Tired.
And I don't know how many were still listening after we went into deep NCAA
Big Ten
talk.
conversation.
I don't know how listenable that was, so we apologize. But our What's Bruins are going to be better. Mike, what's wrong with you?
Hopefully. No, it's just a weekend of chores and cleaning up a house, trying to sell a house, trying to sell my parents' house, and I've never done that before. And cleaning
Good
up
luck.
and seriously, dude, it's crazy. So I've been was focused on a lot of some refurbishments with my sister. So that was cool, coming over and just making fun of each other as we do while we're getting all this stuff going. But I don't know if any of you have ever sold a house or had to get one prepared, but it's freaking stressful, man. Freaking stressful. But no, I did kind of hang out at what did I do Saturday? My friends were DJing somewhere, and I can't remember.
Fun.
It's like this. It was like this 80s gothic night at this place called Knuckleheads in Hollywood.
That seems cool.
It was Memorial Day weekend, so there were some people there, but I only stayed till 12 because I'm getting old and I was tired. Mm-hmm. So it was good to hear some proper 80s music over the big speakers. But on Sunday, and I didn't contact you about this because I found out Friday. That guy that does the session, Christian James Hand, he did once again this month's version, and it was Elvis Presley and Elvis Costello.
Oh wow!
And those are two artists that are just not at the top of my list. But this dick, Christian James Hand, once again made me like someone that I previously not liked.
Oh, that's good.
Well, specifically, he did pick a Elvis Costello song, which he started off with, "Pump It Up." Which that's not bad. That's actually a good song. But oh god, Allison, Every Day I Write the Book. I'm like, you're an amazing producer and musician. How did this come out of you? These are, in my opinion, not great songs. They're pop crap. But the breakdown of this one, Pump It Up, just with the organs and the guitar and his rapid fire singing in this is like, oh damn! And all at the age of 24. Him and bastards like the Beatles being all talented and crap when they're 18, 19, 20 jerks.
So annoying.
Anyway. But then they did. I was hoping he would do this because this is the best Elvis song ever, in my opinion. Again, he did "Suspicious Minds," and he not just went into the because he said the same thing too. Never been a huge Elvis fan, but when he researched him, and I didn't even know about this that Elvis had this. He was basically a handler, but he was his manager. This guy called the Colonel.
The Colonel, yeah.
Just what he put him through, and just to just saw Elvis as a money machine rather than someone that actually has value to it, which made it the allure of Elvis even that much more interesting. Just some mystery behind it, and just the breakdown of the vocals, full horn section, along with rock, classic rock instruments like drum, bass, guitar, just absolutely. Like, I love that song to begin with. I love it even more now. And it's just the good thing about these shows is that he has you listen to parts of a song that you probably never knew were there. You probably could
totally.
you could probably kind of recognize it through like maybe just a moment in a song, but then when you cut everything away and bring out that instrument, holy crap, you're like, this was going on the whole freaking time. Just amazing what he does.
That's super cool.
The next one I think he's going to do is Chumbawamba, which there's only one Chumbawamba song everybody knows.
Yeah.
And I forget who the other...
I hear they're like super anarchists or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zavasa Scandinavian.
Oh, good Lord.
Yes. But yeah, no, they're anarchists or something like that. And yeah, punk rock all the way. Yeah, I think they started as a punk band. And I think with this song, it was like, hey, let's try to put out something, do you, but make it a little bit more poppy. Yeah. And it just took on a life of its own when it hit the airwaves. I'm like, what? Because I both love and hate that song.
Oh, absolutely. So. Absolutely.
You got a whiskey drink, you got a lager drink.
Yeah. That's silly.
So that's what I did. It was actually quite a long. I got to sleep in, which was awesome, which I needed to. I'm reaching the burnout point for the end of the school year, but almost out of that. Jake, what's wrong with you?
I went to San Diego for Memorial Day weekend and had a good time for my anniversary, so it was nice. And a couple fun plugs to give out. Number one, we went on a whale watching trip, and it's the best whale watching trip I've gone on in California. I bet going to Hawaii whale watching is pretty awesome when you go there during humpback season. But this company was very cool. We're on a very fast, small boat. Drove 14 miles into down into southern waters of Mexico, and saw humpback whales and just like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of common dolphins. And it was really fun. They were all there together doing their thing.
Did the dolphins kind of, when the boat was going, did they ride with it in the front?
Oh yeah, and they're
that
herding.
Is so trippy.
And by the way, the bottom of the boat was a metal bottom, so I tried to get some sound for the show, but I couldn't get it. But you could hear the dolphins talking with their echolocation.
What?
It was really, really neat. It was like watching Flipper for like an hour. So the company is called Gone Whale Watching, and the website is whalewatching.com.
Mm-hmm.
And they have it's just getting into blue whale season, which I didn't,
because they're all heading north right now, right? Towards Alaska.
Well, yeah, but they have a thing. I think they have a boat you can take, and you're gonna be on the boat for a while, but they'll pretty much guarantee that you'll go see a blue whale if you go on the boat like between like June and August or whatever.
Earth's largest creature. Hells yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go back and we're gonna do that. So Gone Whale Watching, that was awesome. And then we had a lot of great drinks, a lot of great meals. But we went to Eddie V's for our actual anniversary dinner. Mm-hmm. And Eddie V's is a steakhouse. It's a chain. It's a national chain. It's the first time I'd ever eaten at one. In California, there's one in El Segundo, Newport Beach, San Diego, La Jolla, and Palm Desert. But could not have had a better meal. The service was absolutely terrific. Bartenders were awesome. And I had a couple just amazingly good drinks. There's one called From Eddie with Love. And it's a clarified whiskey cocktail, which means that it comes out in it was like a Nick and Nora glass. It's just kind of like a coupe glass or like a martini glass, only weirder. But it's clear drink, but it's made out of whiskey, so it should be colored. But they run it through milk. They pull all the flavor out of it and to soften the taste, soften the bite of it. And then they put like some pineapple and some other stuff in there. And it was like, it's one of the best cocktails I've ever had. And they serve it on a little coaster with a little card from the owner saying From Eddie with Love. It's kind of fun. And then this have a really, 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 really terrific service, and they took care of us for our anniversary as well, which is very nice. And then I got like 3 cocktail recipes this weekend, Mike, because
nice.
I would go into a place, I'm like, hey, you mind just tell me how you make that? And then they wrote it down for me, and so it was great.
I go to places and I look at records and I collect records from different cities. Jake collects cocktail recipes.
So I got a recipe for a new version of a paper plane, which is my favorite drinks. I got another one for a couple other bourbon drinks. So
has anybody ever said, no, it's a secret, we can't tell you?
I feel like yes, but not recently.
Okay.
So it's fun. I came home with like 3 different like handwritten notes from the bartenders. They were telling me how they do stuff.
That's awesome.
And I learned how to, and they were telling me how to do the clarification process on the whiskey, which I'd heard about, but I never talked to anybody who actually did it. So I'm definitely gonna do that because that was an amazing cocktail.
Oh, cool.
So there you go. A nice weekend down in San Diego, and I love going down there. It's just so far, just so hard to get down there. But when I do go down there, I'm always happy. And then so and I in honor of listener Jack Roosevelt, I ran a nice 9-mile route around Gas Lamp and the docks down there in San Diego as well, and 8 miles in Riverside. So it was fun time. So
I'm starting to run again, Jake.
let's go, Mike. I know I heard you made yourself puke.
Got a 10-minute mile, 17-minute second mile.
That's how it goes sometimes. That's all right, Mike.
Yeah, I'm slowly getting back into it, but I'm like, damn.
I'm proud of you.
Jake did what? You did 80 miles in April?
I'm going to do 100 miles as of tomorrow.
Oh,
for
damn.
May. It's the first time I've ever hit 100 miles in a month, but I'm going to be
Jesus,
100
Jake.
miles
Well,
tomorrow. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Hells yeah, dude.
Let's go.
I've done 4 this month.
Hey, it's 4 more than you did
That's
last
4
month.
more than I did last month. That's true.
We're talking about.
That's true. Silver linings, baby.
All right, so we'll see you next week. We are probably going to have somebody on the show,
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
be fun.
Oh, yeah.
So I look forward to that. And until next time, Mikey, what do we tell the people?
Go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin Show.
Oh my God.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's gotta be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, brah, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.